As brand designers, we always have to make sure that our designs are consistent both in the digital and physical world. While practicing and gaining experience in digital design is very easy today, a lot of new designers still struggle with packaging and print design. If you're experiencing something similar, I hope that by the end of this video you will have a clearer picture, because today I will walk you through the entire process when it comes to packaging design, from the dieline to the finished printed product. Ciao besties, welcome back to my channel. My name is Viviana, and if you're new here, I'm a brand designer and this channel is all about design tips and tricks and branding. Today's video is probably one of my most requested video ever. I know that I say this a lot, but really so many people ask me about packaging, and I really wanted to take my time to make this video because there's a lot of information to go through, so get ready. We are going to talk about the entire process, sourcing the dieline, following guidelines, what colors to use, all of that. I'm going to make sure that you will be ready to work on client packaging after this. But before getting started, if you find value in this video, make sure to show your support and leave a like. It really helps the channel, so thank you if you do that. Alright, so many designers, especially beginners, are used to showcasing their packaging design using mockups, which is completely fine. Mockups are an amazing way to show how a design could potentially look in real life. They are essential when you're working with a client because they need to be able to visualize how the packaging is going to look before they approve it and get it printed. There's no going back after that. So mockups are incredibly useful. However, many times, especially when it comes to passion projects, the packaging design stops at the mockup. But designing packaging for a mockup and designing real actual packaging are two completely different things, and that's why a lot of new designers struggle with the process. The first big difference is that packaging is designed using a dieline. If you don't know what a dieline is, I'm gonna try to explain it in the simplest way possible. Actually, I'm gonna show you. Let's take this box and open it until it's completely flat. What you're seeing here is the dieline of this box. Whenever you design packaging, you never design each side separately like you would do in a mockup, for example. The design needs to be presented and sent like this, because then it's gonna get printed, cut, and folded until it looks something like this. When it comes to dielines, 99% of the times your client is gonna have to provide you the dieline. If they don't have it, just ask them to ask their supplier, because they will surely have it. If your client doesn't have a supplier yet and they're looking for pretty standard packaging, you can suggest online suppliers that provide their dielines on their website, so you can go and source them from there on your own. I'm gonna go more into detail about this later. One thing that I've never had to do, and I don't think I will ever do honestly, is making the dieline myself. Going into this territory is very tricky because packaging has a standard dimensions, but they vary based on the supplier, their website, or even the country. So it's not really ideal, especially for someone like me who works with people from all around the world, to make up my own dimensions without knowing how and where it's gonna get printed. Even sourcing your own dieline can be a little tricky if you don't check with the supplier first. So honestly, I think that it's best to let the client handle all of that. So this is the dieline that we're gonna use today as an example. Let's start easy with a box. But before moving on to any kind of design, and this is very important, we have to make sure that our document is set up to cmyk and not RGB. Making this mistake with the color settings is very common if you're not experienced with print design. To sum it up, not all RGB colors can be printed, so we use cmyk colors for standard print. cmyk colors don't have the same range as RGB colors, so it's really important that you set up your document correctly before choosing the colors. Because if you use RGB colors and get your design printed, then there's a very high chance that you will end up with a dull version of the colors or different colors entirely. And you really don't want that when you're working with client packaging. It's kind of a compromise that you have to make if your client wants to use a standard print. But printing really bright colors isn't impossible. For this kind of print, we use pantones. These bad boys. Pantones are a color matching system used in print design for the management of color from design to production. By standardizing the colors, different manufacturers from different locations can all refer to the Pantone system to make sure that the colors match perfectly without having any contact with one another. It's a much more efficient way to work with color because there's no risk that the colors will look differently once they get printed, like it happens with screens, for example. Pantones usually come in two sets of swatches, uncoated for regular paper and coated for paper with a glossy finish. All you need to do is just choose your color and then provide the code to the supplier. Of course, this comes with a price, literally. Pantone print is more expensive, so this is another thing that you have to discuss with your client before starting the project. For the purpose of this video, we're gonna design packaging for a sustainable brand that I worked on a couple of months ago. The business is called Totally Me and they sell tote bags made with recycled materials. As you can see, we're gonna design a box that they will use to ship their product. specs. The dieline that you're seeing right now is a very simplified one. Each supplier is going to have a different dieline with different instructions on it. Some will already have guidelines, bleeds, safe areas, or trim areas based on what the product is. But this one specifically is very simple, so you can be ready for anything. The first thing to do is create some bleed. If you don't know what a bleed is, it's a bit of extra space to add to your design that goes all around it, so that when it gets printed, there's no risk of seeing any white lines or parts where there's no color if the design isn't cut perfectly. Bleed needs to be added to anything printable, from small business cards to packaging. It doesn't have to be much, just a few millimeters or inches. Personally, I use 3 millimeters. So if you're never designed using a dieline, I understand that it can be a little intimidating or confusing to visualize how your design is going to look in real life and make sure that the placement is alright and then everything works. If you already have all your brand assets and you know everything that needs to be added on the box, then try printing the dieline and sketch your ideas there first, like this. I know that it sounds a little bit weird because you could do this on your computer and just skip this step, but the good thing about having it on paper is that paper can be cut, and this can be assembled into a box. You can have a physical preview of how your box is gonna look. You can actually do this step even further into the process after you design. If you have the means, like access to a good printer, then I really suggest to do that. But always do a quality control check, however you can. I took some time to sketch some ideas, and now I'm ready to check if they're gonna work. But first, let's take a look at what I'm thinking. Since the dieline is pretty simple, I added some notes to know where the front, the back, the insides, and the sides are, just to make everything easier. On the front, I'm just gonna put the logo. Here, I'm gonna put the logo mark and the brand flowers. Here, I wanna put the brand pattern. Here on the back, I wanna add the brand tagline. I'm also gonna add socials to this part, and honestly, I'm still not sure about what I'm gonna do for the sides or insides. We will see later, but generally, everything seems to be working, so let's start cutting. Okay, here it is. Our box is now ready to be folded. When you cut it, always make sure to cut these flaps here as well, otherwise you won't be able to fold it properly. Alright, give me a minute to assemble this and I will be right back. And just like that, here's our box. It looks so adorable. Now let's check if everything works. Logo, yes. Logo mark, yes. Brand pattern, yes. Tagline, yes. Socials, not so much. See, here I made a mistake. I put these socials backwards. It's an easy mistake to fix, but who knows if I would have caught it if I didn't check on paper first. This can get you in a lot of trouble with a client, because what if they print an entire batch like this? What do you do then? It's bad. So now that we have checked everything and we know exactly what to do and how, let's jump on Adobe Illustrator and let's start designing. So here we are. This is the exact dieline that we used for the sketch. Let's start bringing in the elements. For this box, I want to use the greens from the brand color palette. So following our sketch, the first thing to do is positioning our logo on the front, and looks pretty good. The next thing to do is adding the 2 brand flowers and the logo mark. I think it would look so cute when you open the box, you see the logo and then also the logo mark, which I love. We are not gonna do anything on the inside, so let's focus on the back here. And for this side here, I think that the brand pattern is just perfect, as we saw. Of course, let's adjust it so that it looks perfect with the size of the box. And then here on the back, I'm gonna put the brand tagline. This is a design that I already made for one of the tote bags, so I'm just gonna put this here. Then here I'm gonna put the socials, but let's remember that I made a mistake on the sketch, so let's do it backwards. And then for the sides, I'm not so sure that I want to do anything too specific. I was thinking about recreating this pattern also on the sides, but maybe I'm just gonna put these same brand flowers just as a little decoration. So yeah, this is pretty much it. It works perfectly just like we sketched this. I wish that I had a printer so that we could see it as an actual box, but I don't. My printer is pretty bad. But this is all you're gonna need. So now what's the next step? If you're working with a client and they already have a supplier, then all you have to do is send this file and you will be ready to go. That's all they need to print the packaging. But when you work on packaging for a client, you also need to present them the design using mockups. They won't have this, so they will need something to show them how the design is going to look in real life before they approve it. I use a lot of resources, free resources, when it comes to mockups. If you want to know more about that, I made a whole video about it. But as I mentioned earlier, sometimes when a client approaches you, they still don't have a supplier and they ask for your advice. Maybe they're looking for boxes, tape, tissue paper, or stickers, and they don't know what's the best place to get them. Well, in this case, my go-to website is PackHelp. PackHelp is a sustainable marketplace for packaging for businesses of any kind. Their website is amazing because not only they have dielines for every product, which makes our job as designers much easier, but they also have an online editor where you can design your packaging and see in real time how it would look. To be honest, it's incredible for business owners who can invest in packaging design yet, but they still want to look professional. And everything is super eco-friendly. I am gonna leave a link below if you're interested, but head over to my Instagram because I might have a little discount code for your first purchase. I don't want to spoil too much. See you on my Instagram. Well, next time a client asks for advice, you know what to tell them. So I guess we have covered everything. Now you know all the steps when it comes to working on packaging. This is the final result. If you have learned something from this video and you happen to use it in your work in the future, please come back here and leave a comment to let me know, or DM me. I don't know. That would make me so happy. And of course, if you have any more questions, please ask away in the comments. If you would like to see more content like this, you can subscribe to this channel or like the video. Anything to support the channel will be very appreciated. I'm on all social media, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, so you can go and find me there to stay updated on these videos and see more of my work. In this video, we have designed packaging for an old project, but if you want to see me build an entire brand identity from start to finish, then check out this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you again in another video next week. Ciao!